What's up everyone, and welcome back to another Path of Exile 2 video. So I know it's been about 2 weeks since the last update, and I know things have seemed very quiet with only a few quick notes on Discord, but I want to tell you, you can rest assured we're still actively working on everything every single day. It's just that we are mostly preparing for next league because the player count has diminished significantly because we're nearing the end of this league. To give you some perspective on that, at the start of the league, we had hundreds of thousands of players, and now we're down to roughly 10,000. So naturally, we want to figure out the best strategies to maximize profits when we get that big influx of players for the league next month. So today, I want to give you a first look at what we've been working on to prove that we've been working on something. And this document is currently still private because it holds sensitive data and detailed formulas, which are representing about 100 to 200 hours of hard work, which was primarily done by our staff member Kazuki. And while I'm generally supportive of people making their own financial decisions in Path of Exile, which is also why we share so much data and insight openly, we're still trying to protect the significant efforts put into this particular document by our staff members. So I'll definitely be sharing more from this document soon, especially because many of you have asked about future updates, and obviously videos will also return next week, and I've even got several queued up for the coming days, this time for real. And I know I've said that before, but at that time I was still figuring out the video editing side of things because I was trying to improve that, and I was still encountering issues due to, let's say, my limited experience. So I've been actively working to improve that skill, and let me quickly walk you through this document. So first we have a tab for daily returns, which tracks profits or losses and calculates the cumulative returns. And since we've started, we've seen about a 50% growth. You can't see that in here because at the time at which I was converting all of the old data into this document, it was the 16th of July, and I wanted to see this data properly. When it's more data, it's obviously more complicated, and I first wanted to see if everything works out. So this isn't all of the data, but it's the most relevant data. It's the data right now, and this document also shows all of your current wallets. So next season, this is something that I want to mention. This is also in this tab right here. I can set that value here. We'll have 0 fees for the first week to encourage active trading. So this tab allows me to flexibly adjust the withdrawal fees. So I could gradually increase them like I did this season to like 10% at the end, and we only have 0% at the beginning. However, we might reduce that percentage since next season has better opportunities for profit because we're starting early. So we're benefiting more the fund and also the community. So fees always apply at the point of withdrawal. Your deposit fee remains locked at the rate when you deposit it, and the system carefully accounts for this. So what that means is when we look at these two example values, I put this in just to show you this example. Let's say I deposited at the 16th of July at a rate of 0%, and then I'm trying to withdraw at the 18th of July, which has a listed rate of 3%. The 0% still apply because that is the amount that it was when I did my deposit. So that's what I signed up for, and that's what I get. So you won't have to worry about this changing in the future, just at what the fee is right now. So for example, if you deposited at the 18th of July, your fee would be locked at 3%. So that's really practical and saving us a lot of work. And in addition to that, we have a comprehensive investor list over here, which is especially useful to categorize tier 2 members who permanently enjoy different benefits like 0 fees and other special perks. And I can easily manage that through just adjusting the tier in here. So I could just select tier 2, and then all benefits get applied to that investor. And in addition to that, I can also add new investors down here. So we track currency data at 8 a.m. in the morning and 10 p.m. in the evening in this tab over here. And this is likely something in addition to the chart tab, which I'll explain in a second, and also the global report tab, which I will likely share very, very soon, because this is not as sensitive data. It's just, you know, the stuff that we've been categorizing every single day. So the amounts in here are categorized clearly in this data over here. And by the way, I also determine how much divines we have invested into the fund and into what currencies. You can see that over here if just the data isn't enough for you and you want to copy exact trades, or you want to see at least what were our trades of the past, what can you learn from. But yeah, everything is also categorized in these graphs right here. You can, for example, put different two different currencies right here, for example, the chaos, and compare it to the exalted orb. I will zoom in a bit so I can see better. And then over here, there's a bunch of these currencies put into context of each other. Obviously, we also included the CAS calculator in here, so I can easily look at the percentage decrease or the percentage increase for each single currency and then directly do the trade. I won't have to open another Excel, calculate there, but I can just look at this stuff over here and then do the trade with that calculator over here. So that's for my convenience, but there's also a bunch of other tabs for your convenience. If you're, for example, a tier 2 member, you can see your report in here where it basically shows all the data on tier 2 members. Obviously, over here, it shows you what the amount is that you can withdraw. Over here, it shows how many withdrawals or deposits that you had. And over here, it shows where I was or how much divines or how many divines are into the tier 2 fund. And what I want to mention about the tier 2 fund is something entirely separate from the tier 1 fund or you know, the standard fund. And that doesn't mean that tier 2 members can't deposit into the tier 1 fund or the standard fund, but it means that this won't affect you. So just because we had an increase for these people or these people are getting a payout, that doesn't mean that your profits are reduced or something, because we are just taking the divines that are accrued by the fees. You can see since the 16th that fee is 0, or I am giving my personal divines into the tier 2 fund. You know, I was doing that to test all of this out, and also because at this point I have a lot of divines from playing myself just left over. And yeah, that stuff is totally separate from the standard fund, so don't worry about that if you're just a standard member. So yeah, there's just 3 tabs left, or significant tabs left, because this stuff, as I said, is just some calculation stuff. And that is the global report tab and tier 2 report tab and the executive report. So the global report allows me to see all of the investors, the percentage increase dependent on the time of their withdrawal, and also the today's total available amount. So today's total available amount is always the percentage increase of the previous day. And I'm doing that because let's say someone wants to do a withdrawal right now. We're still 30 minutes away from when I take or write down the data and determine the percentage increase for the last 24 hours. So that could cause 2 different problems. The first problem being that I pay a person way too much because we had a decrease today, and that decrease is already here. I just haven't determined it yet, so that will negatively affect everyone else. And the second scenario is that I pay someone way less than they're supposed to receive, because the amount that we have at this point in time is way more than yesterday. I just haven't determined it yet. So to be fair to everyone, we're taking last day's percentage increase, and that is reflected here. Also, obviously, with the without the withdrawal fee that is mentioned here. That's just because the math is going to be way harder to include that here. That's just to see the amount the base amount that we need to modify the withdrawal fee from again. So this is not entirely done. Obviously, this document, I want to mention this as well. This is just 90% done. So that's also another reason why some data might still be delayed in when I share it. Obviously, for next season, all of that will be done and all of it will be shared with you guys so you can see properly. But yeah, and this shows us obviously the same graph that we've seen in the beginning. It shows us a couple different data points in here. For example, how many deposits do we have in total, which is 98, the exact amount of investors, since there have been more deposits or withdrawals in the past days, right? 0 withdrawals, 98 deposits. Then we have different data points here. For example, how much the percentage increase have varied over all time, so the volatility of the daily return. Then we have the average daily return for that time, which we have categorized, and the withdrawal fee, the fees which we have collected, and the cumulative return, how many divines we increased the total fund by. So we increased in the last 5 days or 6 days the fund by 421 divines. And yeah, this is just the base amount of investors, and 95. So yeah, I think the difference in here is because we were figuring out a few things for example. So there were actually not more deposits. There were no deposits. There were just less investors. So that's for the global report. In the tier 2 report, there's basically the same stuff over here, but also with separate tier 2 member wallets. This also includes the amounts that they have in the regular fund, because some of these people have invested there as well. But it also includes the divine amount that they get from the accumulated percentage increase divines that we have so far. And the last tab that I want to discuss is this executive report tab, where we can see the individual growth of each deposit for one of the investors. So right here, I can determine, for example, how many divines have you gained from one of the deposits that you have made when you have made multiple deposits. Because it's possible that from one deposit you'll have made like 50%, and from the next you'll have made 10%, and just so I can show you that data as well. Obviously, how many divines I pay the staff, it's calculated in here as well. Obviously, that again doesn't take away from the amount of divines that you receive. That is just from the fees that we have accumulated, just so I can categorize that as well, and that these people or our staff is properly paid for. Because, as I said, we cannot afford to pay them with real money or some real currency yet, so they get paid in the divines. So yeah, there's some other stuff over here. This is practically useless for you guys. This is just something that I need to determine the amounts properly, and so I can check if everything has been entered correctly. This will basically show me if something has been entered incorrectly accidentally, then these amounts will be way off, and I can immediately see that. So yeah, everything is active, everything is running, everything is fine. This pie chart also is working out, right? You don't need to understand this. This just has to be at least the same size as this has to be. Otherwise, we have to pay the people more than we actually have, right? So if this is 50-50, this is exactly the perfect amount. Obviously, we want a slight difference. So 51-52% is even better. But right now, it's just 50-50, and that is still absolutely fine. So yeah, I think that's about it for this video. I hope it hasn't been too long. I just wanted to get this info out there to show you the stuff we've been working on, and to assure you this project is not dead. It certainly isn't abandoned. And if I would ever make like a break in the data or like in the fund where I wouldn't operate it, I would certainly tell you guys. You guys would certainly be contacted so you can get your divines. I'm not going to just leave all of you alone. So don't worry about that. And a huge thank you for all of the tier 2 members. As mentioned, you keep this project thriving and growing. And that's just incredible support that I never expected. And that's it for today's update. So stay tuned for more videos coming soon. and I'll see you in the next one.